Now they say money can't buy happiness, but
Habibi, come to Dubai.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And you'll notice we've got a slightly different environment.
No shit.
Here in phase 6. I am officially in Dubai. I've taken my entire life. I've moved it over to the UAE, moved over my companies, etc., etc. And yeah, for the remainder of Agency Navigator, you will see me in my new setup. Now, this is my beautiful 4-bedroom apartment. Well, I guess technically 3-bedroom and a maid's room, which still is, I don't know. They have funny classifications here, but let's say 3-bedroom. This is my 3-bedroom apartment here in Dubai. I got my guest room through there, the main master bedroom with nice, beautiful 180-degree wraparound views. And yeah, this is one of the spare bedrooms that I made into my office. So yeah, I'd say definitely not as imposing as my last place. My last place was 2 floors. My office was like the 3rd and 4th floor of my house. But yeah, I actually prefer this setup a lot more. It feels quite cozy, nice. And you guys can't see it, but I have the most insane view of Dubai, especially at night. It's ridiculous. But that's not what you're here for. What you are here for today is service delivery phase 6, because I have showed you how to set up your agency, how to find clients, how to reach out to them, how to actually take them through the sales process. But what now? Like, how do you actually bring them on as clients? How do you get them kick-ass results? How do you get kick-ass case studies from it? And how do you make sure that one agency client leads into the next? And that is what I've got you covered with here in phase 6. I mean, 49, it might be, +2 or -2. But last time I checked, 49 modules on service delivery. It is insane. In this service delivery section, I'm going to give you stuff that I don't even agree with. We're going to talk about CBOs, and I fucking hate CBOs. Me and my team hate CBOs at our agency, but I'm going to give them to you regardless. There is no stone left unturned. So on that note, let's get into today's module. So as I said, welcome to today's module kickoff and onboarding call. Now in today's teaching, we are going to go over the tone to get across, who needs to be present on this onboarding call, the structure of the call, key questions to ask, logistics to go over in the call. So let's get into the kickoff call. Now, the kickoff call is really when everything is said and done. The contract is signed and the invoice is paid. Now, this is really when the work starts, or at least in the client's eyes, because the client does not care how much outreach you've done, how many messages you've sent, the painstaking process you have to do to actually acquire them as a client. To them, they don't care. For them, the real work actually starts now. So I'm not only going to show you the process for how to actually onboard them efficiently, but also I'm going to show you how to make them feel, loved, safe, secure, because this is really sort of their first proper touch point with your agency and with your team. So ladies and gentlemen, to kick things off, as you guys remember, our last step of the onboarding process was to book a call with our team. Now, this call is arguably one of the most important ones, because this is where you'll set the tone for the rest of the working relationship with your client. You're going to intro your team. You're going to paint a picture in their minds about your workflow and processes. You're also going to give them a realistic timeline of your work, among many other things the client should expect from you. Although remember, this call, they will hold you accountable for everything you say here. So just kind of similar to the same process, don't overpromise the world here, okay? Be realistic, but also get them excited. Now, who actually needs to be in this call? Now, in our calls, there's Danny, our CMO. If it's, if they've been assigned to Luis, who's our head media buyer, he'll be there. So the way it works is it'll be me, Danny, as I said, my CMO. If Luis is assigned to a client, then it'll be Luis, or it may be one of our 2 other media buyers. It all depends. Now, this is, I guess, something that's a little bit more high level. Once you start to grow your team, we have multiple media buyers, and each media buyer gets assigned a client depending on difficulty, spend. Our different media buyers have sort of different skill sets and clients they've actually absolutely smashed out the park for. And if they have a similar client, then we'll assign them. So, for me as an agency owner, I have a few different decision trees I sort of need to follow to decide which media buyer to assign to a specific client. For you, most of the time, it'll just be you and your media buyer, or you or your copywriter, or whoever it is that's actually delivering the services. So it's a lot simpler decision, but I thought I'd just still give you the full understanding of how I come to the decision of who to assign and who's actually there on that onboarding call. So yeah, as I said, it'll be Danny, one of our media buyers who assigned, Kieran, who's our in-house copywriter, as well as myself. Now on the other side, of this call, aside from your team members, there'll be your clients and most likely some key people in their marketing, as well as potentially their partners. Okay, so there'll be some people from sort of your corner and some people from their corner. Now, if your agency for now is composed by only you, that is fine. Do not worry. Okay, if you have a media buyer, it's fine as well. Okay, if you have a copywriter, that is also fine. The point that I'm trying to get across is that no matter the stage of your agency, you can make this call work as well as we do. Now, in terms of the structure, first things first, you're going to get acquainted. Then you're going to get into some reporting stuff. Then you're going to get into the copywriting questions. Then you're going to set up the weekly meetings. And lastly, you are going to do the wrap up as well as timeline. Now, let's talk about getting acquainted. This goes by personality, but we always break the ice with some questions. So whoever gets first to call, because sometimes it might be me, sometimes it might be Danny, sometimes it might be Kieran, sometimes it may be our media buyer who's assigned. Okay, so whoever gets first to the call, either myself or my team, will speak with the client as well as their team and just kind of, just make a bit of small talk. Now, here's some questions you can use to chat. If the client has an interesting background, you can point it out. Oh, that's a cool painting. Are you at home? Where do you get it from? Oh, that's a cool sort of sculpture or ornament. Or, oh, you have a very interesting interior to your house. Did you do it yourself? Or, did your place come furnished? You can always talk about the weather. That's always an easy one. You can ask them where they are. Are they home or office? Which one do they prefer? Do they prefer working from home? Do they prefer working from the office? Or just some general stuff. How are you? There's always a lot of commonalities that we find with clients. And the funny thing is, a lot of times we've spent 10, 20 minutes just talking to the clients, and that's actually great to get that FaceTime with clients. We've spent 10, 20 minutes talking. A lot of our clients have actually been to Colombia and have spent some time in Medellin or even Bogota, where Danny's from. And a lot of times we chat about the food, the living prices there, how beautiful a lot of the women are there. And that's some stuff that we talk about. Sometimes Cape Town comes up, which is basically my favorite place on earth. Sometimes the conversation of, or especially recently in the last 6 months, me moving to Dubai, that comes up as a topic of discussion, and tax efficiency. There's just a lot of stuff where you just want to assume familiarity, and it's almost, you want to act as if you guys have been friends for a long time. And yes, you're going to probe with these slight few questions, but from that point is that don't ever, I guess I've said this a lot of times before, but I don't like to talk formally with clients. I almost want to just assume that we're friends. And that's just the style that works for me. Now, when everyone from both parties has joined the call, it's time to introduce your team and give a brief overview on what the agenda of the call is. Now, you'll see the exact example of how I introduce my team on the live kickoff call module, which will be right after this. It'll be like a Vault module. Now, the main overarching principle of it is overselling your team. Now, you never want to oversell or like overpromise what you're actually going to be able to deliver to clients, but you want to oversell your team. Now, although it's true that I haven't seen someone smarter than Danny in terms of the media buying space, nonetheless, I still always introduce him as an ads wizard that I managed to snag out of a successful path to a big tech company. And this is true. Danny was on his way. He was the top of his class in one of the best software engineering schools on earth. And, he was already starting to get sniffed out by Google, Facebook, and basically he was on his way there. And I had to fight to keep him at the company. Now, does the client necessarily need to know that? No, but it really positions Danny very highly and very valuably in their mind. So, even if your media buyer, let's say, has managed 30 million in spend, which is obviously quite a lot, or let's say your media buyer used to work at a big company, then you can sort of build these sort of stories. And now you never want to lie, obviously, but you can always build these sort of stories around it that really sort of prop up. That's the big thing that you're trying to do here, right? Is you're trying to prop up your team as like, wow, this is like, this is literally like, the Avengers. Like, you want your client to feel like, fuck, I have the best possible candidates to fulfill this task and to fulfill the service for me as humanly possible. Then I talk about how Kieran can make you look like an incredible writer no matter in what niche you're in, and that he's written for the weirdest niches and understands them and made them his, as well as the fact that he's actually sold screenplays, which is, if you don't know that about Kieran, that's a very interesting fact. He has actually sold a few screenplays. So as I said, main thing here is always mention how good your team is and how you can trust them. And once again, I'll do that as well for the media buyer assigned to the specific client. Really important. Right? The client needs to know that they're in good hands and that they can trust them as well. Now, this should be carried out even if you're currently working with a contractor. Understand that, please. If you're working with a contractor, remember they are a member of your team, which is true. Okay, like the client isn't going to ask, "Oh, is this a contractor? Or do they work full time with you?" Whenever you just say, "Oh, they're part of my team." So even if they're a contractor, you still really need to prop them up in your client's mind the exact same way. Now, after we kind of get to know each other with the client, Danny jumps on the reporting side of things. Now, in this case, I'll describe our reporting system and mention all the intricacies it has and how difficult it was to put together. How it pulls data from many sources in almost real time. And, if Luis is on the call, he also likes to mention, just to kind of save his back, that it's actually usually a 30-minute delay. It's not actually real time. So we've got like a kind of cool vibe going on there. So as I said, Danny goes over the reporting system and explains each page and each metric and why they matter. Okay, it is in a sense teaching our clients how to read the data on this simplified and unified dashboard so that way they can make sense of it when they're looking at the performance of any given period. So Danny, what he always does is he'll pull up a good reporting sheet with recent data and basically just start explaining how it works. I'll show you right here. So in this page, we'll explain how we have the two most important metrics for the agency, how much money is coming in and how much money is coming out. And this also kind of just speaks highly to ourselves as it proves our ethos of being a results-driven agency. Now, in the middle, you can find all the steps of your funnel and how much we're paying to get people into each step of it. Okay. And we'll also tell the client how this reporting will be tailored to their specific funnels because, and for you, this may not apply, or maybe it may apply if you are in a, if you're working with local clients. We have clients that do high ticket phone call funnels. We have tripwire funnels. We have obviously big e-commerce brands. We have auto webinar info pro clients. So we have a whole wide array. So, we've got sort of templates and we've got sort of different reporting systems depending on which client we are speaking to. And because we usually sign 6-month contracts, we actually like to show the evolution of the client and how things are going month by month. It just gives clients a sort of high level view of what 6 months looks like. And then it kind of zooms them out and really shows them as well, especially, when we can show a good client account, like, oh, wow, like this thing actually scales, month by month and continues to, bring in even better results as time goes by. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to almost pretend to be Danny and basically say a sentence that, and there's slight variations of how he says it each time, but in general, what he'll say is something along the lines of, look, in case you're a geek like us and you like to see the charts of performance or, get some interesting insights, you can see graphed here ad spend versus revenue, add to cart ratio, its conversion to purchases, and also how the CPC and the CPA actually behave and sort of dance with each other. Now on the bottom, you can also see that how the ad account is performing each day, and you can also sort of by, cost per acquisition or any other metric for that matter. And you can see here that, this day in April, we paid the most for the purchases. And then this day in April, we paid the least, and so on and so forth. And, he might go on to move to the next page and say, hey, look, here on page 4, we can see the overview of the audiences we're using. Now, keep in mind, this is the case because we name the ad sets that way. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about naming conventions and how to actually do all that in further modules. But as I said, here we can see device, age, gender, country breakdown, right? Like this is something that Danny says a lot to clients. It's like, hey, like this is how it works. And, here's the discrepancies you can see. You can sort of move the day range and you can see it based on that. So as I said, I'm almost, kind of pretending to be Danny in this instance. Now, after Danny's finished, I'll introduce this next part of the call saying how important it is and that its main purpose is for us and especially Kieran to understand the business, the offer, and the voice of the company. So everything we write is on brand and represents the values of the company. Now, here are some of the questions that Kieran will ask to the clients. Now, before I list through these, it's important that you and your other team members pay attention to this bit, okay? Actually listen, because it will entail some things that can't be overlooked or simply give you ideas for new ads, new offers, or who the client is and how they will like to be treated. There's a wealth of knowledge in these questions, so really, really listen up. So as I said, some questions that Kieran asks, and this is pretty much the same thing each time. Who is your dream client? Okay, who's your dream client or your dream customer? Like, what do they actually look like? Really important. What are some buzzwords or phrases that your target audience would identify with? Next thing, how would you describe your brand? Another question, who are your major competitors and how is your company different? Another one that Kieran mentions a lot of time, but I forgot to write down is, do you have any sort of like hero piece of content? So for example, this may be like a YouTube video or like a Medium article or some sort of like hero piece of content that Kieran can look at, or in your case, your media buyer, or let's say you're doing the copy that you can look at and be like, okay, this gives me a very good representation of the brand. This gives me a very good understanding of what this brand entails. This gives me a very good understanding of the business and sort of how, like as I said, like the hero piece of content, like what would they want to be depicted as? The next thing is the weekly meeting. So what's going to happen next is we are going to book a weekly meeting. Now on our side, we always propose a time that sort of helps our schedule internally. We like to do calls on Monday, just kind of because it knocks it out for the week. And yeah, if it fits with the client, then that's perfect. If not, then, you know, we will have some flexibility to it and, you know, we will rejig some things around. Now, very, very simple. You just open up Google Calendar. You pick a time that you've arranged. You add the name of the event, as I've shown in the image. You add the emails of the organizers and participants. And guys, change it to Zoom, please. Like Google Meet. I mean, hey, you know, if you're in Google Meet camp, then, you know, sure, do it. You know, if you fall more in that camp and you enjoy the Google suite of products, sure. But like we just prefer Zoom. So yeah, I've already showed you guys in phase 1 how to actually connect your Zoom to your Google G Suite administration. So that way, like whenever you have invitees, then you can actually select Zoom for that. So yeah, that is pretty much that. And you're just gonna set it so it runs weekly. Okay. So yeah, as I said, very important. You just set it so it runs weekly. I've already explained this to you guys in phase 3, I believe. For the first month, we do weekly check-in calls, and then from there, it moves to bi-weekly. Now, with that done, you can save the event and make sure on the prompt you say yes to sending emails with the invites to everyone. Now, after the meeting has been booked, it's time to wrap up and tell clients the timeline and what they can expect from you. Now, in our case, this is a proposed timeline, and this also changes from client to client depending on if they're already running ads, the difficulty of clients, if it's an info product business and we actually have to build out a funnel for them. You know, it all kind of depends. It is a case-by-case basis. So you can see right here, after that initial kickoff call, usually within 48 hours, they can expect we've sent the reporting sheet. Within 4 days, they can expect the copy to be written. And then with 7 days, they can expect the first ads to be live and everything started. Now, a few caveats here, depending on the situation. As I said, if the client is already running ads and we take over the ad account, then we're really pretty much going to start managing from day 0 or like the next day. Okay. Because if they're already running ads, and especially for e-commerce businesses, there's nothing that we need to change structurally, like as in like landing page offer. Like if it's really just about the ad side of things, then we're basically going to take over from the next day and we're going to keep managing and running what they've got while we create them some new copy and sort of transition to our style of advertising that obviously over Space's 49 service delivery modules you will know all about. As I said, the other caveat is sometimes that the client needs a little longer to approve or translate the copy. We actually have a lot of international clients, so we actually translate copy with them, like as a pair. So you have to let them know now. It's important that they do it fast, and you know, this way really the timelines don't change. And that's pretty much everything we go over in the kickoff call. Now, sort of one last final thing to mention is when I sign clients, I actually like to create their client dashboard inside of Agency Flow there and then, and invite them, because then that way, if they have any questions about onboarding, they can actually just message me or my team directly inside of Agency Flow. But if you didn't manage to get to do that on the sales call, then obviously that's going to be another thing that you're going to do. Actually, that should be the first thing that you do on the onboarding call, is just create their client dashboard inside of Agency Flow and then invite them or anyone they need in their team. And that's pretty much about it. As I said, this is really where the real work starts, and this is really what represents the highest yield in your agency, because it is far easier to keep a client than it is to sign new clients. And that's really the strongest agencies. And I've found this a lot, as I said, with agencies who have been around for 2 years or 3 years. After 2 or 3 years, that's really where you start seeing a lot of clients stay on board for 9 months, for 12 months. So ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much wraps it up for today. No action step, or I'm gonna be honest, I forgot to create an action step slide. So yeah, that's my bad. So here's the action step for today. Very simple. Just go inside the community, give a warm welcome to a new member. And that is pretty much about it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you in the next one.